everyone. This is Rev Brad, and this is the Soccer Chaplains United podcast from the Touchline. Today's podcast is part of our Lesson from Lasso series, and regular listeners know by the sound of that tune, you can skip ahead a minute and get into the pod for the day. Well, unless you've been under a rock, off the grid, or stranded on a deserted island for the last few years, you've probably heard of the Ted Lasso show. And after being around professional football for so many years as a chaplain, I thought I would offer a chaplain's perspective on what we see on the screen. I believe there's some great lessons to be learned. Whether you're a person of faith or not, there are personal and professional points of development no matter what your relationship with soccer. Athletes, coaches, staff, executive, even fans of the beautiful game will hopefully find the next few minutes creative, challenging, and encouraging for all of us at the same time. Thanks for listening. Here we go with another lesson from Ted Lasso.
He's found the space and he's found the back of the net.
Just a little off foot, thinking he's going to go far post. Not strong enough with his right hand.
Whips that one in. Far post, almost made him ends, and they have. He has the hat-trick. The second in his career. The third of the night. The hat-trick hero.
Talked about you're not going to be able to sustain that kind of pressure.
To the corner, goes towards the near post, and you're on the angle, and what a goal! What a goal!
In today's lesson from Lasso, we come to the end of episode 5. Coach Lasso and wife Michelle stand in the rain talking. The conversation takes a deep turn into serious waters as Ted moves from reminiscing about their relationship to giving Michelle permission to not have to keep trying anymore. Lasso assures her it's going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. Then tearfully, Lasso remarks, I promised myself I would never quit anything in life. Well, we get the sense that this will be the last we see of Ted and Michelle together, and so let's talk about the lesson that we have here before us. As we learn that Lasso has told himself he won't quit anything in life, we understand that his promise is similar to making a vow or swearing an oath. You know, sometimes in life, especially when we experience hurt or pain, we will make vows and oaths. Follow me, if you will. Have you ever seen something that your parents did, maybe during your childhood or adolescent years, and you swore you would never do that, or you would never make that same mistake, or you would never parent that way? I remember when I was young, different times when my family would move around, my parents would always seem to choose a house and a neighborhood that was close to the school, and our church would be a faraway drive, a drive like 30, 45 minutes. Now, when I was growing up, church was a central part of our family life and family time. And I was always frustrated because it seemed like we lived so far away from church, and it was hard to build friendships and participate in the different activities because of the distance. Now, don't get me wrong, I had good friends at school. But at my young age, I didn't have a realization or appreciation for things like driving, gas prices, and all those other things. But today it makes sense to me. School being a daily thing for much of the year, church, even going 2 or 3 times a week was less frequent, wasn't a big part of life. As an adult, I see it makes sense to choose a home near a school. But see, I made this oath as a young teenager. And I said, when I have a family, we're going to live near the church. We aren't going to be commuter Christians. Well, that oath, that promise, that vow was something really untenable. It was unsustainable, especially later on in life. I've been employed and have worked at a couple different churches, and I've left those churches too. Today, our family drives some 20, 30 minutes to where we currently worship. And it kills me inside because of that oath I uttered way back when. To some extent, I feel as though I'm repeating the same mistakes, quote unquote, I felt that my parents had made. I'm not fulfilling the vow that I made way back when, and it makes me feel as though I'm under some kind of curse. Well, I think this is similar to what Lasso is feeling here. Probably there's some unresolved part of his childhood or his past. I think we're going to see something later having to do with his relationship with his father. And there was a cause for Lasso to swear to himself or promise to himself that he wouldn't quit anything, whether it had to do with his marriage relationship. And so here the burden is especially painful because Lasso is quitting or feeling like he's quitting not only Michelle and his duties as husband, but especially as he looks at his son and feels like he's quitting his duties as dad. Well, what's the lesson out of all of this? I think we all do well to look at the biblical posture and guidance when it comes to making oaths and vows. In the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 23 through verses 21 through 23, it says, "If you make a vow to the Lord your God, do not be slow to pay it, for the Lord your God will certainly demand it of you, and you will be guilty of sin. But if you refrain from making a vow, you will not be guilty. Whatever your lips utter, you must be sure to do it, because you made your vow freely to the Lord your God with your own mouth." Ecclesiastes 5, verses 1 through 7, likely written by Solomon in all of his wisdom, also gives us a similar kind of guidance. He writes, "Guard your steps when you go to the house of God. Go near to listen rather than to offer the sacrifice of fools who don't know that they do wrong. Do not be quick with your mouth. Do not be hasty in your heart to utter anything before God. God is in heaven and you are on earth, so let your words be few. A dream comes when there are many cares, and many words mark the speech of a fool. When you make a vow to God, do not delay to fulfill it. He has no pleasure in fools. Fulfill your vow. It is better not to make a vow than to make one and not fulfill it. Do not let your mouth lead you into sin, and do not protest to the temple messenger, 'My vow is a mistake.' Why should God be angry at what you say and destroy the work of your hands? Much dreaming and many words are meaningless. Therefore, fear God." Well, just some quick lessons I think we should realize about vows. 1, don't be hasty to make a vow. Don't be hasty to swear to do something or make an oath. The second thing, don't make promises or vows in anger or out of hurt or pain. I think this is tough. Sometimes we don't realize the hurt and pain that we're going through. But when we do those things, it can actually have a really negative effect, and they can do longer damage to us later on in life. The third thing is this: count the cost. There are some vows and oaths that are acceptable, important, and worth making, whether it's a vow or oath to God, to our spouse, and in other instances perhaps. But we must do due diligence to understand the extent to the commitment and covenant we are taking on. And finally, when we fail, notice I said when, not if, in our commitments to God, to others, to ourselves, we need to call out to God for mercy, forgiveness, and grace. Well, thanks for listening to this lesson from Ted Lasso. This is Reb Brad coming to you from the Touchline.